Welcome to season one, episode one of We Two Real Life Stories with Real Life Couples. I'm your real life host, Dr. Jessica Tartaro, intimacy coach. And you are about to hear from Renee and Neil, who, full disclosure, are good friends of mine. And I asked, hey, you two, would you be willing to let me interview you about your relationship? This is a couple who have been together almost 24 years, and they've definitely had highs and lows. They have two children who are young adults now in their early 20s, and one is still living at home. So they're on the cusp of, as Neil calls it, fledging their children, basically almost empty nesters. You're going to hear them talk about pivotal moments early on in their dating life where they made decisions as a couple that impacted who they became all these many years later, where they said, we want to be this kind of couple who, and they asserted their values and they asserted really their commitment to being an on purpose couple. And you will hear and you will see that they are. They have a lot of superpowers to share. I joked at the end of the interview that I can't wait to go home and see my husband because I feel like I can be such a better wife after being inspired by them. So you are really in for a treat. They're a couple who knows how to really let us in and give us kind of the nitty gritty of their relationship. They're full of stories. They're full of laughter. They're full of a little bit of flirting that's going to entertain you, or I hope it will as much as it entertained me. But also at the tail end of the interview, they talk about how they do conflict, a recent conflict in their lives. And you're going to hear that it's still tender for them. And you're going to probably see that as well. It's something that I saw. So a recent conflict in their lives. They don't have too many conflicts, but this one has definitely encouraged them to grow as a couple. So I'm so glad that you're tuning in because I have a feeling the whole world of couples is going to benefit from learning from this one, Renee and Neil. All right, you're in for a treat. Enjoy episode one, season one, We Two. Okay, you two. So we landed a couple seconds ago. I got your permission to record. I noted that you're basically wearing the same color. You're telling me it's not the same color. We'll just agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Renee Neil, welcome to my first season, my first episode ever of trying out We Two Real Life Stories with Real Life Couples. And thank you for being the first couple to bravely say yes to sharing about your
Yeah.
love with the world.
Yes.
Um, yeah. Renee just hid the our own view. So I think let us know if we wander. I don't, does this actually, are you gonna post video of this or will it just be an audio?
It's actually video, which is why,
Okay.
do you know Gabe Van Lilleveld?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I got a video editor for this, and he made my office look pretty, and because
Okay.
people just
Awesome.
see us, yeah. And I've done
Yeah.
a podcast, but this is a little different. I think there's something about being with a couple embodied
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
different than being like, here, it's cool to hear their voices, but no,
Yeah.
here's how their body language is speaking to us, and here's how
Hmm.
they laugh, and so on.
So my ask is that if we wander out of the
Yeah.
frame, let us know. Or Renee, maybe we can just be, oh yeah, that's fine.
I think it will be better if we don't see ourselves.
Okay. All right. Because I do actually look at myself while I'm talking
I
on
know.
Zoom.
I'm
Does
gonna
everyone do
I'm
that?
I'm gonna encourage you to try not to do that.
Okay. I just don't have the option now. So
I'll let you know. I'll let you know if you veer.
yeah, yeah. If I go wandering off or
Okay,
Renee goes
good.
wandering off, I think we're good though. I think we're
Got it, sweetheart. Um, so how about we take a couple breaths together? You feel open to that? Yeah. It's
Mhm.
still real.
Mhm.
It may be on video, but it's still real people with real hearts. And I want us to be in a real process. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll breathe in and can join me,
Mhm.
just landing together. Two more breaths. Take your time. Final breath.
Mm.
Mhm. How does it feel to be here sharing? I'll just say a little bit, just by way of context. When people are interviewed for video or audio podcast, it's usually because they're doing something that's an offering to the world, right? Like, here's this outward facing thing, and let me help you broadcast it or showcase it. But this is different. I approached you, in fact.
Mhm.
You said yes.
Hmm.
But instead of you offering something to the world, it's really the world coming in to visit you.
That's sweet. I like
Yeah.
that.
Well, it's so sweet that you are welcoming us in.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to hear whoever wants to start. How are you feeling heading into this interview?
Mm.
I'm good. I was actually like thinking about that in terms of like what's our intention here? What's my intention? And it's like I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned. And I listen to like weird advice, podcasts and advice columns I read and stuff. And I'm like, it's always about the problem, right? But like, what's the not problem? What are the things that work well? Like,
Mhm.
um, and then we're going to talk too about how we, I mean, you talked about conflict and like, how do we get through that? Because we've gotten through a few of those as well.
That's great. I
Yeah.
love I love hearing your intention, your desire to not only
Mhm.
focus on what's challenging, but also like what's the not problem?
Yeah.
Hmm.
What works here?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things you both said in the interview application was over the years, several people have said to us, we want what you have, or we
Yeah.
are inspired by what you have. So you're in part why I asked you, because I knew that to be true. I imagine there's a lot of appeal for you to share. Here's some things that are the not problems for us.
Hmm. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was also just a great way to bring curiosity and like shift the lens that we look at our relationship through, because it's so easy for relationships to go on autopilot,
Mhm.
which ours definitely does sometimes. But to have these prompts to, investigate our own relationship and have some time to do that was
Hmm.
really fascinating because we sat with it. We kind of uncovered some things, and then some time, a couple days would go by, and I'm like, actually, a little bit deeper, and then again, like a couple days later, like actually, until like last night, I was having a really hard time sleeping, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was like, "Are you awake? I think there's some. Actually, I think the glue is something else. I think it's something deeper." And so it's been, and I imagine it'll continue to work on us in these ways where, where that curiosity has kind of gotten in and given us an opportunity to explore, which
Mm.
is we're 24 years into our relationship. So those opportunities are welcome and wonderful.
I just switched the view just so that you would get to be right in the center when you shared that last piece. It's so beautiful what you just said, Renee, about how just the fact of the prompts got
Hmm.
you to
Oh
wake
yeah.
up. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
for folks who are listening, everyone who's on this show will fill out a series of questions that I ask that help guide what we're going to do in the interview. It's a little bit of kind of cooking in advance or marinating in um, the content. And so, you reflecting, I love that you woke up in the middle of the night. So, I have to ask, what'd you come up with? What do you think the glue actually is?
Um, it's our shared values, I think. We had said like humor, which is it certainly helpful, and sex, which is helpful, and like it nourishes, those things nourish and sort of dissipate energy or create energy, but the thing that keeps us turning towards each other, or the thing that we orient to, which I think is really the glue thing, because that's the thing that we keep coming back to,
Mhm.
are our shared values, and curiosity is one of them, which
Uh,
Hmm.
makes a lot of sense that you know landed in the way that it did with the prompts, because we're both like, that's a shared value. So we
Yeah.
took those prompts and we're like, ooh, let's get curious.
yeah.
And we did that together. But I think that is a thing, that those shared values, of curiosity and like mutual care,
Mutual
respect.
respect. respect of our needs and
Yeah,
yeah.
taking like really caring for one another, like that's important to both of us. So we use that to to when there is conflict to, it's like, well, I really want you to get your needs met. I want my needs to get met, but I also really want you to get your needs met. So um that feels more like the glue because it's the thing that really yeah, orienting towards is the words that keep coming, but
Mhm.
it creates sort of the scaffolding for us to build this beautiful relationship together.
Oh, I love all those metaphors, orienting,
Yeah.
glue, scaffolding. So now I'm going to,
Building materials.
Yeah.
and of course, am I remembering right? You did build the home you live in, but
Yeah,
together,
good
hand
point. I think
in
you nailed it, Renee. It should.
hand.
We did build the house that we're living in currently. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I remembered that. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of structure about what's coming, but then let me come back with a curious question about what you just said. So we have an hour tonight to be together, dark and stormy night at that. Um, and towards the end, I'm going to ask you to give me some dialed in answers because what I'm going to do is make the last 10 minutes the kind of edited episode. And then right under that is going to be the full arc of the conversation, which I will strongly encourage people to listen to the full hour. But I want to
Mhm.
give people like a bottom line chunk. So towards the end, I'm going to just remind you of a few things you said and ask you to come at them from a new angle so it's still fresh. Um, and we'll see how that goes. I'm kind of in an experiment in terms of how I structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can give me feedback and be like, no, that didn't work. Or actually, no, that kind of flowed. But that said, that's what's coming. And about a quarter till, we'll kind of gear up to that. Okay. But the last thing you said, mutual care. I want my needs to be met when there's conflicts, but I really also am invested in you getting your needs met. And that's how you get yourself through conflicts, which I loved what you wrote in the application. I took some notes. I'm going to come back to that. But I want to ask, you've been together 24 years. Was it always like that? You raised children and your children are now, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about the age of your children and so on. But there was a time when you had two very young children at home, which I know was a very different era. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
just the evolution of how these values have grown and kind of,
Mhm.
you know, gotten so centralizing or centering or what was exact, gluing for you. What was that evolution like?
Yeah, it's really interesting because we were talking about kind of conflict, and we'll get to one that I think we wrote about in the application later. But then we were actually talking about because I think things were relatively like we're a good fit. We really, starting off, but then you have, probably the one of the toughest times interrelationally in our marriage was when we had like a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old.
I think it
And
was three still.
maybe she was 3,
Yeah.
but
She
we
was
were
three.
just totally like our second child wasn't sleeping very good. We were kind of just zombies. And at some point, like Renee's like, "Can I go to the movie? So and so invited me to movies." I'm like, "Oh, like I haven't been out forever." And there was like this epiphany of like neither one of us is doing okay right now. And it was kind of like, and I don't even know. We were just talking about like we can't quite figure out where that just came from, but there was this realization that like taking care of the other person was also taking care of yourself. So like to give you an example, it was like totally, yeah, you can go out to the movies with your friend, like that's great. And then at one point, like Renee actually called a friend of mine and was like, "You're meeting your buddy at Sirens at 6, and you're gonna like go have dinner, hang out. Like he's gonna meet you there at 6. I've got the kids." And it was like, oh my God, like this is great. Like, and it was kind of like that whole thing of like, hey, you haven't been out for a little while. Do you want to just go, And then also just making sure I think we were doing okay with our own date stuff, but like it was also like taking care of that web of friendship around us because it can be very isolating having two young kids, but just that epiphany of like, oh, if I'm watching out for her and she's watching out for me, like everything gets gets easier. And that can be a huge conflict. That can build resentment. I mean, Renee,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that we
resentment.
saw, I think that we both saw the potential of where it could go and made a pretty conscious decision to do something else. We're like, okay, this like you can't go out because I'm not, like the that resentment, like that hint of what could be. I think we both were like, this is not the
Yeah.
direction we want this to go. What else can we do? Like, what other options are there?
And
How can we shift this up so that we're actually, acknowledging and taking care of each other's needs? And I really do think that 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 moment, which we remember, so that child who was one is now almost 19. So that was 18 years ago. Our older child is 21. Um, but that moment replays, that time, that period replays in our relationship. Like it's come up over and over and over again. Like, remember that time we could have gone down a different path and we chose this one instead. And so, yeah, I think that is one of those sort of pivotal moments in our relationship where we did instill and uphold and really like cement that value into how we were going to be with each other.
I think turn towards each other rather than away.
Yeah.
And that's a common theme as well.
I'm pausing just in so much um, gratitude at how you two are talking about our path could have gone a different direction 19 years ago. 19? Did I hear 19? 18 years,
18.
18, yeah.
18 years ago. And we saw that and we chose differently. I have a young child at the moment, not two. One is enough, but really very much relating to both how essential that generosity is and how hard it is to come by when so few personal needs are being met. I loved how both of you put it. Neil, I think you said, I realized that when I take care of her, I'm taking care of me. I hope I'm getting that right, but
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
realization that not the opposite, like not I gotta get me first, but that there's a we-ness that I can trust. If only one person is bringing that generosity, it's not going to work.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and there was that idea too that it isn't just me taking care of you or you taking care of me, that it's a mutual,
Right. Yeah.
but not transactional.
No, but that's interesting. I think that what you said is really important too. Like it worked. That worked for us, I think, because we both brought it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's lots of reasons why someone can't
Yeah.
or it does,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that for sure.
Yeah. You're matched in that way. I mean, your styles are different, but I just love that you set up a date for him.
Yeah, totally. It's like, get out of the house, Neil.
Go.
There was definitely a part of me that was like, I'm gonna get what I need if I do this for him. Definitely like in the moment, like there was generosity for sure. Like I want him to get his needs met. I know it's better for all our whole family in that constellation at the time and
Hmm.
forever if, as many members are getting their needs met as possible. But but as a unslept
Mm-mm.
mother of two young children, there were definitely moments where I was like, please go out so I can also.
Yeah.
100%. Well, let's be real. Like,
Yeah.
nuclear family is underpowered
Oh,
to meet the
oh yeah.
needs of anyone, but particularly parents,
Yeah.
particularly child rearing, folks engaged in child rearing. So it's no joke when, like, you haven't bathed, you don't have psychic space to yourself, sleep
Yeah.
has been broken for not just like days on end, but months and years. So it's like okay in my mind to say it was sort of transactional in
Mhm.
a sense, with so much love underneath it. It wasn't like Ozies, but it
Yeah.
was
No.
like, no, we have limited resources. It's going to be one or the other of us, but it's for sure going to be the other after it's one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Which is so inspiring. And it's just, In long-term couples, I think it's safe to say there are formative events, and you're not the same after it as you were before. There are pivotal crossroads, turns in the road. It sounds like that moment
Mhm.
was so formative, decisive, influenced everything that came after it, gave it a foundation.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, so middle of the night epiphany is really playing out to be true. Yeah, this question of what's the not problem, I'm going to keep going back to that really sweet phrase, or just, what's the glue? And glue can be in lots of, it can also be your sense of humor and your sex life, right? All of it.
Yeah.
But I hear you saying what's even, below all of those things. Um, is it interesting to you to also talk about your sense of humor and your sex life, the other things you did name as what
Mhm.
works here?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, Renee and I, and that we're both, I mean, we're very, I mean, we probably, I mean, we belly laugh at least once a day,
Mm.
like deep, like one, I mean, we generally, you crack me up, I crack you up, but it's like, there's a lot of laughter.
And sometimes like, that was a
And it's so
terrible
funny,
joke.
like, well, and it's so funny too. Like, I said something this morning to you, and I was like, "Well, that could land really wrong," and you were just like, "That is like you just lost it." It was so funny. So sometimes,
Yeah.
like, taking that edge and just being like, "Okay, she might groan at this one," or she'll just be like, "That was really good, honey. That was a good joke," and you're gonna laugh deeply over
Mm.
that.
What did you
So,
say? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Okay. But you remember how it felt.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
or maybe it was last night when we were going
No,
to bed.
it was this morning.
No, because we didn't actually see each other this morning.
Oh, this is
Yeah, this is another conflict averse thing. I slunk out in the middle of the night because she was snoring too much, but I didn't want to wake her up. So,
so he came and slept out here in the shed.
Real
and
life.
she left early in the morning to go walk with people,
Yeah.
friends, and didn't realize I wasn't actually still in the bed in the house.
Oh,
Because
So
it was dark.
it was dark.
well, you were so quiet.
I was
Yeah,
really quiet. I didn't wake him up.
you didn't wake me up. No.
Well, he was so quiet, but I guess you were too. Didn't wake up the pile of pillows that wasn't him.
So
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
have something to say about the humor thing too, which is in reflection of what Neil just said about like, I don't know how it's going to land. Um, I think there's a there's an opportunity to just look at like why one of the reasons why humor works is also because like we're attuning to each other even in that humor. Like he's saying like I don't know, he's thinking about how it might land and he's not just like making the same dad joke over and over again or whatever. I mean, he makes some pretty
No, I learned that from my dad,
pretty
actually,
terrible
not
dad
to make
jokes.
the same dad jokes.
But it's not a thing that's for him or for me. It's a thing that's shared, right? So it's like you're kind of attuning your humor to the person.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
And that's just something I hadn't really thought about too much, but
Yeah.
it's an opportunity for like connection and attunement.
That's beautiful. Well, I imagine that's part of why it tickles you so much because that high quality attention, which is behind the attunement, is so delightful.
Yeah.
I knew this going in, but it's already being showcased. I'm really struck by your friendship.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, it's interesting, and I can share some more of this at the very end, but I wrote out kind of what works well a couple of years ago, well, a year and a half ago at our anniversary. And I was like, what? Like, and it was like mainly it was just like friendship.
Hmm.
And one of the things I think with friends in general, I think there's a spirit of generosity, but also just like I wrote down something that just said practice consideration until it becomes effortless.
Hmm.
So it's like I'm getting a glass of water and I get one for her, or at least check in with her to see if she wants one. Or I don't even ask and I just bring her one because I see that she doesn't have one and she probably wants one. Um, so there's that, right? Like you would do that for a friend, right? So like there's this just like this ease between us. And it's like things like traveling are really fun. Like it's just
Mhm.
really, I don't know. Yeah, we're good friends.
Mhm. Um, Something I'm thinking of as I hear you say that, and I hear you both just so affirm it, is how easy it is in long-term relationship. And you kind of alluded to this earlier, but to kind of go to sleep on each other. Like stop
Mhm.
seeing each other as fresh and new. Stop seeing each other in the way you would see friends you don't live with, sleep with, have children with. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm really hearing you're not asleep in that way.
No.
You're holding that kind of awakeness to each other's personhood. And I know you can point to lots of reasons why that works, and some of it's probably just in the mystery of the chemistry of this. Um, but I am so delighted that you two are really giving us a taste of how that works. So you
Mhm.
said practice consideration until it's effortless.
Yeah.
And I love that word practice
Mhm.
because in long-term relationship, especially if there's kids, but whether or not there's a lot of energy conservation happening. And
Hmm.
that's that autopilot, which like we're not
Mhm.
going to hold that against people, but no long-term relationship stays fresh unless there's the word you used, which is practice. I hear the practice. Um,
Yeah.
she may or may not have water. She may or may not want it, but I'm going to get it.
Yeah, totally.
I'm considering her.
Mhm. Neil makes eggs every morning and he always asks me if I want eggs, even though like at least 50% of the time I don't. I don't like eating the same thing every morning, but that's his thing. He makes it. It's like almost talk about autopilot. Yeah, it's like his
I
morning
haven't had
routine.
coffee yet, so it's like a very set thing that I can do without
Yeah.
caffeine.
But he always, every morning, if I'm home, and I'm awake, he's asking me. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, then the drum beats too in your relationship, right?
Hmm.
The rhythm.
Hmm.
But I think a part of that not falling asleep too is like we also are invested in our own personal growth and each other's personal growth. And I think that um, being individuals who are evolving and growing and changing in sometimes really big ways, which can also be disruptive to a relationship, it also can keep things alive and keep that,
Yeah.
and like I love to dress up and I still, like keeping like a little bit of courting
Yeah.
in there to be like, if we're going on a date, like dressing up for the date or just like keeping a little bit of that, like that was you wrote that too,
Yeah,
like
totally.
keeping the
Like,
mystery alive or keeping some of those qualities of that what a new relationship feels like. Not taking for granted that you're committed to one another, but really like investing in making that keep happening.
yeah, keep the effort.
You know,
Keep efforting
it's
for the
not
other
like
person, right?
there's a lot that we fit and we match, but we also like work at it all the time.
Mhm.
And that
We work at
in a
it.
way that
Yeah.
isn't so effortful because it's consistent um
And it's
and small, but in those considerations and in those, getting fancy or like, in the way that we meet each other.
and it's often very fun. I mean, it's kind of like, hey, you know, I came home and then like, I don't know, I had to feed the dogs or whatever. It was chaotic. You were cooking dinner. And I'll just be like, we have not kissed yet. And we'll just like pause and kiss, maybe rub our bellies, but like really be like present with each other. And that's super sweet, right? Like that's not work. That is just presence and kind of just like it's awesome, right? Like you've got this awesome friend that you get to like do everything with. um,
Oh,
oh God, I'm gonna get like I might get teary-eyed
you
a little
make us
bit.
both blush.
Yeah,
so many layers to that last statement.
so many layers.
Oh, thank you for bringing that one particular moment, though. I have to
Yeah,
say, like, not only did you turn both your faces red, but
and we haven't even
well,
talked about sex yet, but yeah.
I know. Well,
It was
we
implied.
was in play. I know I wrote some things about that I'll share too, but
I trust. And it's chaotic. She's cooking, you're feeding the dog, but you say, wait, we haven't yet had this moment of pause. I mean, I totally get you saying it's delightful, it's delicious. And
yeah.
it takes, I suppose there's not the right words for it because effort connotes kind of something unsavory, right?
Mhm.
But there's investment, there's tracking, there's consciousness. You know, I loved what you said, Renee, that underneath or alongside this relationship, both of us are pursuing our own self growth. We
Yeah.
have a relationship with ourselves that is also present and curious and dynamic, right? And fresh. And I think you know this about how I practice as a coach, but I'm a firm believer that that really is the foundation of love and intimacy that's lasting with others is that relationship with self. So I hear both of you have an internal kind of barometer that tells you we missed the moment to kiss and belly rub, which I like. Love, it's not just a kiss, it was also a belly rub.
Yeah.
And whatever else came that night, whatever um, food started burning or whatever was happening.
We try not to do that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's so, you know, I think that it's sort of like a good idea, like, yeah, stay present in long term relationship, but you're giving us specific examples of how that practice looks or effort or, you know, the action of it. I love the phrase love is a verb. Um,
hmm
it's like I can say I love you, but if you're really thirsty and I don't get you the water, or I miss really noticing that you put on a, you know, new outfit for the date and so on, that it doesn't translate. So I'm really hearing how you verb, how you enact,
Yeah.
you know, this love.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's it.
We're tracking the things that work. And we
Mhm.
started
Mhm.
with shared values that I know were cultivated at really formative moments. There's probably many of them, but you shared a few. And then the playfulness. And inside the playfulness, I hear really the practice. We can go there now, or I can just trust your timing. But you straight up said it's a tie in your application. You said it's a tie between our playfulness and our sex life.
Mhm.
And it's one of the things that I have appreciated about the two of you as a couple for some time is that you seem to me like you've stayed embodied erotic creatures, like over the ups and downs over time as you've aged, as you've gotten. Are you empty nesters now? Is Sage?
No, our son is still at home. Yeah. He's
Okay,
working in
not quite.
town.
Not quite.
Yeah, not quite.
I'm
Yeah.
I mean,
He's gone a lot,
he's
but
gone a lot. He's definitely a strong flyer, fledging the
yeah.
nest, like
yeah.
Yeah.
I knew you were close. So I'm happy to hear as you're willing, just kind of continuing to talk about the pieces that work, and um, I want to hear about your sex life.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think one thing that's important to me to share, because I am thinking about like the people who will watch this, is that um it's been 24 years of like a lot of different it looking a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
You know, like certainly when we had young kids, um the desire to have my body touched after having children on me all day was challenging at times. Um, there have been other periods in our relationship where our personal growth has taken us a little out of phase, or for whatever reason, we've been a little out of phase, and that's made it harder to connect. I, I mean, Neil, not so much. I feel like he did this maybe at a younger age, but I had to untangle a lot of shame from my body and just like my sexuality. And so that growth trajectory has happened and isn't over. That's layers and layers. Um, so although it's a really important part of our relationship, I also feel like those things are important presence too, because it's not just like, oh yeah, we have a great sex life and it's always been that way and it always is consistent, and that doesn't feel, I mean, that's just not the reality. So I think it's another place
Yeah.
though where there have been moments of like this could go in this direction where we lose intimate connection, where we go periods of time without it. But neither of us really wants that. So how do we do it differently
Hmm.
again? Like, and at one point
Yeah.
that looked like doing a 30-day challenge. Like we were like,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
gonna have sex for 30 days. That's just what it's gonna be. And like wrap your head around it. Like this is what we're doing. Just as a way to like build back in some consistency. And whatever that looked like, sex looks a lot
Yeah.
of different ways.
Yeah.
You know,
As Dan Savage would say, if you want to have more sex, make sure your definition of sex is a pretty broad spectrum of activities.
mhm.
And that's definitely how we feel. But yeah, I remember that just kind of like, oh, like or how you maybe more than me, but me sometimes too. You can end up getting disembodied and then it's really hard. Like you have to
Mhm.
find that go through the labyrinth to come back to your erotic self.
Embodied, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think, I kind but I also think it's really important to keep that physical touch, that like kiss in the kitchen, that hug from behind while you're doing the dishes. All of that also is embodiment. Like, hey, can you just like, oh, cool, you're like really holding me right now. Like that feels really good. And so even in those sort of droughts of sexual, sex, however it may, like to try to keep that connection of embodiment and tenderness in the relationship, knowing that the other one just might not be there. Um, and I think too, I mean, one thing between the two of us is you know, we've talked a little bit about like Renee really feels like, oh, if I'm sort of ramped up sexually and like have like expectations are a libido killer, right? Like, oh, I can tell you really want to have sex. I'm just not there. And one big thing was kind of like, if you want to join me, that's fine. I'm going to take some time for myself. I'm going to be embodied in a sexual way. I'm going to self-pleasure. And if you want to join me, that's fine. If not, I'll come away from that and not be so amped up, ramped up, however you want to call it. And then it's kind of like you've lowered the temperature, or sometimes that leads to the two of us being together, or sometimes you witness me, and that's a really beautiful thing. And um,
I'm going to pause you for a second
yes,
because I think this is another place um, where that idea of taking care of each other's needs, like how each other's needs are important, plays out in our relationship because there isn't like shaming or like yeah, there's just there's an openness and a
mhm,
welcoming of pleasure independent of whether we're doing it together or not. So that makes sense.
Mhm. Oh, it
And
makes
so, yeah, so like recognizing that that is a need, that it's really important, that it's healthy human,
mhm.
you know, uh, I don't know what I want to say
Yeah,
about that, but that it's essential. It feels essential,
yeah,
and to have some sort of pleasure practice, but to be able to recognize that it's a need for each of us individually, and when we get to play with it together, then yay.
yeah.
And if not, then we still support each other in getting our needs met, which is
oh,
Totally, it's
like
amazing.
it's amazing. It's so refreshing to hear you talk. Well, I hear so much permission and approval. And, just tracking back a little bit, you didn't say it's always like that. You did
Mm-mm.
say we don't have to continue to shed layers of programming that gets in the way of that. There are places where we're out of phase, which is a cool way of putting it. Like, in phase and out of phase. There were times when we weren't on track. We had to get on track. We had to do something to be on
Yeah,
track. Like you even know who Dan Savage is. You know what I mean? Like you follow
Mhm.
people who teach
Yeah.
about uh,
Yeah.
kind of freedom in sexuality as beings who want to make your sex look how it needs to look for this relationship. I hear this permission, I hear this approval, I hear this investment in educating and also uneducating
Mhm.
ourselves.
Mhm.
And then I just hear this like, and the outcome, we don't hinge our love and satisfaction on the outcome. The outcome could be one of us has an experience and the other witnesses, or one of us has an experience and the other doesn't witness, or we have an experience together, but we have room for all of it in this relationship.
Mhm. And I think, if I had to give some more like sort of, I kind of this is what I wrote down on our 21st anniversary is like keep having sex, physical touch every day, kiss, rub bellies together, snuggle. If you find that you are in a sex rut, mix it up. So in
Mm.
other words, like we don't have sex the same way every time, right? Like there's a like
Or I mean, it's never the same
it's
because
never the
we're
same, but
always different
but
people
there's
coming into the
it's
relationship.
really I mean I think maybe we've just brought curiosity to it and just been like, oh, that whoa, huh, that feels good. Like that's awesome.
So funny.
But I just, I said choose a new meal off the menu, right? Like mix it up. Learn new things. And yeah, just
Get
and I
that curiosity again.
curiosity and
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. And that was 3 years ago, or almost, right? Your 21st
oh,
anniversary.
2 years ago. Oh,
Mhm.
maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, it was 2024, so that would be oh no,
Mhm.
it's like a little over a year ago,
Mhm.
where we were in a just wonderful phase of
We were in phase.
we were definitely in phase
So
for
much
like
said.
a long time. Yeah, it was really sweet.
I love it. Where are you now?
Yeah, I
We're
think we're in phase.
yeah, we're definitely in phase.
It's different. I mean, it's always different. And the world, the state of the world and our whether we have an empty house or not, and how we're both dancing a lot right now. So I feel like that is definitely like juicing up the embodiment. Um, and so I feel like I don't know, I feel like right now we're playing in different ways. Like I've been doing a lot of contact improv, and so I'll just try to like jump on him sometimes. I have to be careful. He knows, but just I'm interested in exploring different ways to be embodied together.
Mhm.
And so I think we're again like in this place where we're expanding our definition of what sex is in a different way.
Or togetherness or
Yeah, it's interesting.
Incredible. Yeah, it's beautiful. There's often this distinction between the finite game and the infinite game.
Mhm.
And the finite game we play to win chess, soccer, basketball. And the infinite game we play to, you can probably guess, it's what you're doing in your relationship. You play to what?
To play.
Yeah, we play to play. You're having an infinite game where it
Mm,
continues to open up. The path has no destination. It continues to unfold. Oh, I jump on you, or we roll, or we find the expression of contact improv in bed or in the living room
mhm.
or out on the
Yeah.
dance floor together. And what
Mhm.
does that do to our sex life? And we can call sex so many different, or include so many different things in our sex life, which I love and is a huge takeaway. One of you, I think it was Neil, who said expectations kill libido. Couldn't agree more, for sure. And I hear how expansive all of your kind of, quote unquote expectations are, because we're always going to have to some degree expectations, but I hear
Mhm.
the expansiveness of it. This too counts. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would almost say like maybe expectation isn't the right term. Maybe it's obligation a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Either
Like, oh,
agenda. Sometimes agenda is used to talk about
the
what
agenda,
counts.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, versus the agenda is like, hey, we're just gonna get naked and snuggle, see what happens. I really like just like pleasure agenda, whatever.
Totally.
Versus like
We're
I
not even naked. I mean, like
Yeah, or not even. Yeah,
Committing
exactly.
to connect, whatever that might look like, is often like it. Some ways, it's sometimes it's just like finding the door, finding the opening
Mm.
Hmm.
wherever it is, and that might not be getting that. That might be just committing to spending time together, having a conversation, drinking tea together, like, going outside, whatever it is, like, but the connecting piece being, and then finding the next opening, and then finding the next opening, and then, and letting that sort of guide where we're going rather than an agenda.
That is so powerful. And probably we could spend a lot more time on what you mean by opening,
Mhm,
but I want to just sit with that you chose that word,
mhm,
opening, like where there's yielding rather than obstruction,
Hmm.
where there is sort of life force, something flowing through us rather than something that's still or stagnant or stifled. Um, yes, that's very, very powerful. Ah, you too. We're actually winding down, believe it or not. We have about a quarter of our time left. And I think it's just, I'm going to very much wish and encourage the listenership, the viewership of this program to watch the full interview because there's no way that all of this could be dialed into a 15-minute segment. But we're getting close to the time, or we're kind of at the time where I'd love for you to if you're willing, to broach the topic of conflict, because that's a hot topic just in
Hmm.
general, in terms of in the world at large. How do we make relationships work when it's inevitable in all relationships that there will be misunderstanding, friction, and conflict? It's inevitable. And that itself is a learning to not treat conflict like a problem, but a sign of a healthy relationship showing itself a new opening, to borrow your term. So, at large conflict, the topic is really important. But then when it comes to couples, I think I shared with you, but I'll remind you and anyone who's listening that this program was born because a couple who are struggling with some conflict said to me, "Help us remember that we're not the only ones having this kind of struggle." And so
mm,
some of this is, like I think you put in your application, taking the shame out of the struggle. And I know
Hmm.
your struggles at 24 years in look very unique to you. And at,
mhm,
2 and 3 years in, when you had the 3-year-old and the 1-year-old, it was another story. But what
mhm.
I'd love to hear, if you're willing to broach, is what is conflict looking like for you two these days? What are the processes or patterns? And
Mhm.
how do you repair? What's the cleanup look like? Can you take us through
Hmm.
an example?
Uh, um, this was actually kind of a hard question for us because there aren't a lot of like these big pivotal moments of conflict. Like that was one when the kids were young. Um, and so in the like getting curious about it, I kept wondering like what I'm like, well, we don't really have conflict. And I was like, that is total nonsense. Like we totally have conflict because we're humans trying to be human together. And we have had a family and we have animal. I mean, there's just ample opportunities for us to have conflict. Um, and so it's not that we don't have conflict. I think it's just that we address things often in the moment. And when they're small, and there's a lot of attunement, I think, to all of the things that we've already talked about around like caring for one another and getting our needs met, and like all of these, staying curious, and all of these things that are like just woven into how we're doing relationship on a daily basis, that when something comes up and there's conflict, we generally address it right then, and we don't typically.
We don't build up resentment.
Yeah, we don't build it up so that it then becomes like a much bigger conflict, or it can become a bigger conflict. And um and I think we're pretty honest with each other about like how we feel. Like, hey, like I've been doing this thing in our relationship. Like I clean the toilets or whatever,
Yeah.
like whatever the
I do
things
the
that we
compost.
do.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, I would really like you to be more aware of this. And I think that generally those need expressed needs, even if they're expressed with some like heat behind them, we're generally pretty good at like hearing each other
Hmm.
and trying to understand. Um, so that feels like very general. Like if you want a specific example, do you want me to talk about what we put on the application? Or
You're
we
willing,
don't
but
know.
I must ask, if I may, now I got to
Yeah.
toggle back to me. Were you always that way? Were you always that way? Or did you learn that those are essential practices? What you wrote on the application is we engage conflict. And I was like, underline, underline, underline. We go towards. We name it when it's small. We don't let the resentments build. Was it always that way, or did you grow into that commitment?
I think both. I remember early on, we were just talking about this, like early in our relationship, like in the first month or something, Renee said something to me like, I've I don't know if you said like I've let little things build into resentments with my former boyfriends and previous relationships. And I don't want to do that in this relationship. And I remember you like just crying. Like I think I don't know if you had to share something with me like this is bugging me, but you're just like I can't I don't want that to destroy this relationship.
I know, yeah, I had ended a relationship before I moved here, and I realized after that that I would withhold things, my feelings, and how my presence in the relationship, and then end up resenting the other person because I couldn't be myself, or it doesn't work like that. You can't not be a part of the relationship and expect the relationship to work.
Yeah.
So that was a huge learning for me, and it was a meaningful relationship. So the impact of it ending was big. And so I saw this potential, our connection, and I just was like, I need to out myself and not, and I need both of us working on this. I need you to know that
Yeah.
this is not something I want to do anymore. I need to say it out loud, and I need to keep saying things out loud, and I want you to say things out loud.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, that happened really early on and kind of set a tone for us to be honest.
Wow. Um, so much here. You can't not be a part of the relationship and expect the relationship to work.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That's how she put it. I just said
Yeah, I
hers.
know. Yeah, I know.
An amazing way to put it. I'm totally quoting you in how I promote this episode. You're so on purpose to come a month into your marriage. You were babies.
It wasn't our marriage, it was just our relationship.
Our relationship.
We were dating for about a
For
month.
dating and to say, I want to do this differently. And also, you got to put the toilet seat down or whatever it was at that time.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
don't even
I
remember
don't
what it
remember
was.
at all. It might have just been you realizing like, oh, this is good. And this is what's destroyed my previous relationships. And I'm not going to do that again.
I want to be here.
Yeah.
Wow. I love the power of that uh, realization. I want to be here. This is good. So I'm going to do better than I've done. Okay, how about that example?
How about what?
The example, if you're
The
willing.
example.
Oh,
Yes.
the example
The example.
in the
Yeah.
application.
If you're willing, or if there's
Yeah.
another
No,
example.
that's probably the biggest conflict we've had in a couple of years. And it was me being attracted to someone else and flirting with that person and them flirting with me and that hurting Renee. And
There's context to that though,
there's context to that.
because the attraction was we had talked about it, and we had come to a place where it was like, okay, this,
Oh yeah.
I felt it was a place where we had set some boundaries around how we were going to move forward. And then Neil got a little caught up in the moment and I got hurt. And it was really the first time that, because we've had lots of conversations about attraction, and that was another thing before we got married. I was like,
Yeah.
what happens if we are attracted to other people? Like, yes, I want this now, but I was young when we got married. I was
5, 20.
26 or something. Um, I need to know that we're going to be able to have conversations if the very real possibility that one of us or both of us is attracted to other people and we want to explore different relationships, and can we have those conversations? So like before I got married, I was like, I need to know that this is an agreement that we're making. And so we've had lots of conversations over the years and have talked about opening our relationship, and just navigated, what attraction to other people looks like. And there's feelings, like big
Mhm.
feelings come up for sure when that happens. And again, we turn towards each other and we hear each other out. And this time, for whatever reason, it just hit me differently. And at one point, Neil was sort of coming to me for comfort. And I
Mhm.
was like, I can't not do
No.
this. You need to find someone else to comfort you and to talk to. Like, we can talk about it, but I can't make you feel better that you are attracted to someone and it's impacting me.
Yeah.
That is
And
not something that is in my ability. I need to take care of myself in that moment. And so that felt exciting to be able to like hold that boundary in amidst this very difficult thing, but to say like, actually, I really need to take care of myself in this moment. And I want you to also get what you need and take care of yourself, but and keep talking about it. But I can't be your shoulder to
yeah,
cry on because you're having feelings about how this is impacting me.
yeah, there's two things about that. You made me sit in my own discomfort.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna hug you right now. You can feel that.
You can feel that. And it was very much like, oh, okay. Like that's not that's like and yeah, and I found a therapist the next day.
Mm.
I was like, oh, this is big. This is impacting us. I'm kind of at this stage of life anyway, where we're like trying to figure out the next chapter, children leaving houses, graduate from high, like kind of on that cusp of that. And like, I actually want some external help with that. And so it's been really good. Um, and yeah, so and I think, I think that that's some good advice too, to just kind of be like, hey, you're struggling, like how do you frame this, how do you, yeah, it's been,
Well, I hear a couple that shares so much, but you also really individuated.
yeah,
And
for for this I needed support from someone else.
yeah. And that's not even fair to say because you are such distinct individuals that really we haven't named that exactly in those words, but that is the case. But the boundary there was such a kindness. It was such a
Hmm.
healthy thing.
Yeah.
Boundaries often are. But specifically there, Renee, it sounds like you were really sovereign, I guess is a way of putting it. Like, here's my limits, here's my needs, and here's the impact on me. And, I really get that there aren't big conflicts in your relationship. And so I just also want to say, like, I'm really appreciating, I don't doubt at all that this was tender, that this
Mhm.
wasn't easy, that you each had a respective role in it, but that it was quite a vulnerable moment for the arc of this long-term relationship. So I'm
Mhm.
also really appreciating just you're freely able to talk about it at this point. I'm guessing it wasn't yesterday, right? Like some time has passed. So
It's, I mean, it's still in a cycle. I mean, it's still like it's not acute,
got it. Okay.
but
The
it
power has
still
been taken
exists,
out of it.
but it's not in an acute stage.
Yeah. So this couple that has so many superpowers and is so well matched is also in your navigation in a tender way
Mhm.
around something that's asking you to grow as a couple. I get that this is a through line for you. In fact, Renee,
Mhm.
It's like so amazing to me, but knowing you, it's not that surprising, but still amazing that so early on you set so many norms in this relationship. Like what
Hmm.
foresight you had at such a young age to say, we need to be able to talk about attraction to others and navigate that. We need to not do withholds and be able to be forthright. Like you said that so early. So that norm setting, like you can't be 15 years in and say, oh, by the way, we should. You
Mhm.
did it when it mattered. So this is a couple that had these norms, you had these through lines, and you talked about these things, and something happened that is needing more attention and care. You resourced externally, Neil. You got a therapist, which, like, I would wish this for all couples that both members could have a counselor, coach, or therapist who can't use that. But also, it's always going to support coming back to each other and being the better version of
Mhm.
ourselves. And it sounds like that's what you needed, Neil, to do is to resource and come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, while knowing it's not acute, but it's still in process and honoring just whatever is tender, I'm curious to hear just what you both are learning from
Mhm.
navigating this. I'm going to say kind of are learning, not have learned, because it sounds like it's a little more in process.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, and we just had a really big conversation about this, is that in this stage of children fledging, that I think we find ourselves with more sort of social bandwidth. And one of my things is like, oh, how do we sort of expand our social networks? And for me, it's really interesting because it's like, I don't know how to say this, but like sometimes I want to expand those social networks with women, not in a sexual way, but there's a lot of societal stuff that's like kind of weird about a married man and a single woman being friends. And we're still kind of navigating that, but it's an interesting thing to just kind of be like, that person's really interesting to me. And how do you frame that in your own mind? Um, And so that's something that's come up for me a little bit like, okay, what's this next chapter hold? What does our social network, what does our social web look like? I feel like we've been sort of dancing a whole bunch, and a lot of these people are super cool, and you see them on the dance floor, and then you're like, oh, like, or I don't know, or just again, like you're not in that part of your life where you're like taking children to dance lessons and watching soccer games every Saturday all day.
There's,
So
yeah, there's some capacity.
there's
But
some capacity, yeah.
I think the other thing is in related to this is like what is attraction? And I think, one thing that I tell me if I'm wrong, but part of this like being friends with women thing is that sense of feeling attraction to someone and the internalized societal norms of that must be romantic or sexual
Hmm.
because there's attraction. Heteronormative society says, I'm a man, she's a woman, therefore I must want to have sex with her. And so I think it's a real opportunity for Neil and both of us to just explore like the spectrum of attraction and why we are drawn to other people and
Hmm.
how to explore that in a way and like keep those bound like keep the honor our relationship and our agreements, which if they change then that's something we agree on, but like right now we have agreements that are around monogamy and um and be able to explore attraction as a way of growing. Like what does this look like in a not in those outside of those heteronormative societal dynamics? Like how can Neil explore, being friends with a woman and and play with that, like why what do I want out of this, like, you know so that's been this, it feels exciting. It feels so rich. Like there's so much juicy. When he said that to me, I was like, "Ooh, that's juicy. That's where you go." Like that's the part about this where there's like real richness for learning. So the opening piece that we talked about earlier, like the juicy, like leaning into that. And conflict can have that. It can have juiciness and
Hmm.
opening and opportunities um for growing and learning and like, I say that like I sound comfortable with it, but I earned this. Like I earned this comfort with discomfort from years of, my own personal work. And
Hmm.
it did not start that way.
Oh, no. What an extraordinary note to end on. I earned the discomfort. Let me make it very clear. It's not all comfortable. It's just capacity to be with discomfort. And we're finding what's juicy, not
Hmm.
comfortable,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
juicy inside of conflict. And I thought the same thing, and you said it. This is an opening, yet
Hmm.
another place where this couple is going to grow, and not just grow as a couple, but grow as kind of a culturally situated couple, like challenge some norms as they show up inside our relationship and in our points of contact with the rest of the world. Because, oh, guess what? Now we're social creatures a little bit more than we were in all these other years. And
Mhm.
this next chapter. Oh,
Oh, we
to
have another half an hour. No, another hour? Yeah.
go up to my husband, I feel like I'm like a better wife. Just that
Oh,
was me too. Truth. And we need an infusion because the phase we're in, child
Oh,
rearing
yeah.
very
It
beginning.
takes it takes a village to hold a marriage. It really does.
It really does. Well, thus, you really circle us
Yeah.
back around. Thus, the reason for this small contribution to villaging together so that it's like one thing for an intimacy coach in a private session to say, hang in there and mindfulness helps and do your personal growth. But it's another thing for Renee and Neil, married almost 24 years, to say, y'all, here's how we do
Hmm.
it. And
hmm.
thank you for
Yeah, thank you.
an hour whooshed by.
I
Yeah,
know
totally.
it's like
Yeah. Yeah, watch the whole hour, folks. There's a lot of juicy stuff there.
That's right.
and I want to thank you too because
Yeah,
our marriage is also better because we've had this opportunity to get curious again
totally.
in a
Yeah.
whole new way.
Well, listen, all the other couples who are reticent to apply, your marriage get a boost.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
yes, bless you both so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jessica.
You're so welcome.